Hey everyone, Tyler here at The Movie Beat, back with another Korean movie review. As always, I'm going to keep this one as spoiler-free as possible. It's brand new. I checked it out at the Korean movie theaters, so those of you guys wondering where to watch it, hopefully it will find its way to some kind of a streaming service or perhaps a theater near you, so please be patient. So yeah, I'm going to keep it as spoiler-free as possible, so just sit back, relax, get coffee or something, and enjoy the review. And as always, if you guys like this content, please like and subscribe. Lets me know what direction to take the channel, and feel free to connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd. Fun meeting people there, sharing lists, and keeping up with our watch history and all that. Happy to share with you my thoughts on a brand new Korean film called Collectors. This movie does play a lot of clear homage to tomb raiding and bank robbing classics like Indiana Jones, Ocean's 11, and it does really try to impress with a very colorful ensemble cast and some fairly exciting locations. One great thing about this movie is that it does put its own unique Korean spin on the heist genre by placing some real Korean heritage, ancient shrines and tombs at the center of its heists. So that is a big plus. But I do think, unlike 2012's mega hit crime caper The Thieves, the eclectic characters in this one don't really take too much life beyond the page for me, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but I just feel like the production overall was a bit too calculated. So let's get into the story real quick. The grave robbing phenom, Dong-gu, played by Lee Je-hoon, who can pinpoint a treasure's location just by tasting the soil around it, sends waves through the underground antique and rare artifact trading circles after acquiring a rare golden Buddha statue. He soon finds himself on the radar of a rich conglomerate head amassing a private collection of rare artifacts and other national treasures often acquired through black market dealings. Dong-gu is approached by his associate, an elite curator in the antique art world, played by Shin Hye-sun, who offers him and a team of his choosing a fortune to pull off a high-risk theft of one of Korea's national treasures buried within an ancient tomb in the heart of Seoul. Now, Dong-gu must put together an all-star crew of robbers, including the self-proclaimed Indiana Jones of Korea, played by Woo-jin, and the dig master of the shoveling arts, played by Lim Won-hee, to pull off the heist of a lifetime. So to start, this movie looks and feels like it could be up there with some of the best style-wise as far as The Thieves, and just one of those great ensemble heist caper type action movies. Unfortunately, it does fall a little bit below that for me, but I want to start with the positives first. I really liked the setting of this story, and that's because, being a heist film, I'm so glad it didn't take the traditional route of doing some kind of a high security bank or even a museum, something like that. I'm really glad it didn't go that route. Instead, it uses some real geography and real locations in Korea. So kind of like a movie like The Mummy that explores some of Egypt's national ancient treasures, Korea does have some of its own. And I first found out about this kind of a treasure when I was in Japan. They have these huge, like, megalithic structures called kofun, which are these burial mounds that house maybe some ancient emperors. And the thing that caught my attention when I first learned of this was the fact that, unlike Egypt, who actually, promotes finding those artifacts, digging them up, putting them in museums, studying them, there has been a ban on anyone going into these tombs for hundreds of years, and I don't even know if they know exactly what's inside of these things. So there's rumored to perhaps be the body of an emperor, but some ancient treasures like weapons, swords, maybe some beautiful ancient wall paintings and drawings and art, things like that. So when I first heard of this, I was like, they gotta make some kind of a movie or a fictional story about someone going in there, or go in there, because I was so curious about just what that is. And you gotta see these pictures from the air. It just looks like alien. So very interested indeed. And when I came to Korea, they also have some of these ancient burial mounds. I don't think they have as much mystery surrounding them, but they are still pretty mysterious as far as the type of treasures that are housed within. So this one, the characters kind of go after a ancient weapon they call kind of the Korean Excalibur. So it was pretty cool because the setting of this burial mound is a real location that you can visit if you come to Korea. It's really in the heart of the Gangnam area, and it's just kind of like this park type thing. It's just surrounded by the urban jungle, so really cool setting. I also feel like they did a pretty good job at bringing a lot of unique personality to the ensemble cast, as in something like an Ocean's 11, everybody kind of having their own specialty is pretty needed, but this kind of transitions into some of the negatives. This film was pretty well designed, I felt, so very calculated in its script and just overall production. So I did kind of feel like some of the characters felt a little bit confined, and I really wanted them to maybe be a little bit more free and more memorable and have the actual actor really kind of just take off with that role. And this was really noticeable in, say, Shin Hye-sun's performance. This is an actress that I loved her performance in this year's Innocence, so I was really looking forward to seeing what she brought to this movie. Unfortunately, she's playing this role that you've probably seen in another Korean film. It's that personal assistant to like a super rich CEO head person. So, you know, always in a suit, very stoic, straight-faced, very polite, very formal, very robotic. And I get this character exists, but why would you make this a main character, and then why would you get a great actress to play this part? I was really hoping that this character would have a little bit more flair, a little more of a wild side, a little bit more of a chance to explore some acting range. So that was a big disappointment for me when it came to Shin Hye-sun's character in this. The other characters you did get to see a little bit more fun with, like Lee Je-hoon's character. He seemed like he was having a pretty good time, although as a character he doesn't stand out as like someone super memorable like an Indiana Jones per se. Even though another character in this one, played by Woo-jin, he's supposed to be the Korean Indiana Jones. He was pretty entertaining, and he kind of pulled off like the Dr. Jones side of Indiana Jones. But I think my favorite was probably Lim Won-hee, who played that like professional dig master. He just brought a very strange quirk to his role that was very memorable. There was another supporting character in this one. I think it might have been the sister of Lee Je-hoon's character, but it was a character played by Park Jung-bae. She's really cute. She brings a lot of energy, and she's flying drones around and things like that. So I really liked her character, but overall I feel like the movie was just a little bit small in scope. Some of these movies that are tomb raiding types, you kind of expect a little bit more spectacle just because most of them take place in exotic locations, whether it's jungles, deserts, even something like The Thieves. It's a big city, you know, I think it was in Macau, so it just looked very impressive visually. This one, some of the sets are pretty small in scale. They actually have a base that they dig out of that's called a room salon, which is like a very high-end, fancy karaoke joint, which you do see in a lot of Korean movies, so it does also help to bring some identity to it as a heist caper, a Korean identity. But in general, just in the grand scope of things, it was a small scale set, so I didn't get that grand feeling of an adventure that I kind of would hope with a heist film. I did also get a bit of a vibe of being something kind of reminiscent of a 90s live-action Disney film, say like a Blank Check, which is a movie that I really loved growing up, but don't feel like it really holds up to today's production standards. So I do feel like this one is a bit more general entertainment, and it probably will be enjoyed more by younger audiences in general. But I do think any fans of the actors are going to be pretty satisfied with this one, except maybe Shin Hye-sun, you might be a little disappointed because of the role. I mean, she does a good job in the role, but just the role is not great for her as an actress, in my opinion. So depending on the success of this one, it does seem like it wants to kind of establish itself as a potential future franchise. Maybe they hinted at a sequel, perhaps going to Japan for the next one. I don't know how that's gonna go over so well culturally, because they do not want people digging up these tombs, especially they don't want Korean people digging up the tombs. That's gonna be it for this one. Let me know what you guys think of Collectors when you do end up seeing it. I'm gonna rate it an average 5.5 out of 10. Something great to pass the time with, but it's definitely not going to stand out at the end of this year for me. So thanks again, as always, for watching. I'm Tyler at The Movie Beat. Keep watching movies.